Hello, friends. Welcome to the NFL Week 7 recap episode of Stacking the Box. Iain MacMillan here, Sterling Holmes, as always. A lot to get through, a lot of action in the NFL this past week. Sterling, what's going on?
Yo, that was the most unenergetic intro you've ever done. Hey, guys.
Well,
Football.
it's tough. It's tough for me this morning, Sterling, because the Falcons lost in embarrassing fashion, and your Kansas City Chiefs continue to find ways to win games. And now you have woken up as the only undefeated team left in the NFL.
Hey, Ian.
Yeah, I'm firmly a Chiefs hater, and it's I just got to stick to it. I'm a Chiefs hater.
Yeah, I don't get
I'm
it.
done with them.
That's fine.
I mean, we are going to talk about that
too if you're a Falcons fan. I mean, let's be real.
Yeah,
The biggest claim to fame is 28-3.
You guys find ways to win. We're going to talk with the Chiefs because I got some thoughts about the Chiefs, but I don't want to get too deep into it because it is the greatest time of year again. Football is back. If you haven't heard, we're 7 weeks into the season. Football's back, and it's here to stay until February. Over 1 million fans across 33 states got in the game last year by making picks on Underdog. Win up to 1,000 times their money just by choosing higher or lower on your favorite player's stats. I love Underdog. I love Underdog the most during primetime games. That's usually when I make an Underdog lineup. I went 3-4 at the Thursday night one that I gave out on Wednesday's show. Cortland Sutton not getting a single reception. Kind of hurt that one. If you go higher on Cortland Sutton receptions, you need him to get a couple.
I want to give a shout out to Underdog as well. Just again, to show that this is awesome. I had a 5-legger, right? Or 5 picks I put in there.
Mm-hmm.
Jaden Daniels got injured. My other 4 picks, well, they hit. So what did Underdog do? They just scratched out Jaden Daniels because he got injured. They gave me the injury assurance or insurance. Wow. So I still ended up winning, which I thought was really cool. Like, try that somewhere else. Player gets injured, you had higher, what happens? Sorry, you're out of luck. Underdog, though, that was huge. I just want to give that. I thought that was really cool. Really neat thing that Underdog does.
Yeah, you would have thought Cortland Sutton got injured on Thursday night, so I checked to see if I got insurance. Unfortunately, there's no just stunk insurance. This player stunk insurance. So you do get insurance, I guess, sometimes if they get hurt. Not the case for Cortland Sutton on Thursday night. 0 receptions. But yeah, making picks on Underdog is straightforward and signing up is even easier. Just head over to Underdog's simple to use mobile app or use underdogfantasy.com. Sign up with the promo code Stacking the Box. That's all one word, Stacking the Box. And Underdog will give you a free pick to use on your first cash pick'em entry, plus up to $1,000 in bonus cash when you deposit. That's Underdog Fantasy promo code Stacking the Box, all one word, to claim your new customer special of a free pick in your deposit offer. Must be 18 plus, 19 plus in Alabama and Nebraska, 19 plus in Colorado for some games, 21 plus in Massachusetts and Arizona, and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Void in Colorado. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org. Arizona, 1-800-NEXT-STEP, which is 1-800-639-8783, or text NEXT-STEP to 53342. In New York, the state I live in, call the 24/7 Hope line at 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. All right, Chiefs are the final undefeated team of the NFL season, with the Vikings losing to the Lions in a thriller, and then the Chiefs finding another way to win. They get penalties in key moments go their way, they get turnovers in key moments go their way, or just the team that they play, which happened this weekend, everyone just got hurt. Everyone got hurt.
Yeah, the Chiefs have no injuries.
Perfect. Everyone
the
just got hurt.
No
Brandon
injuries.
Ayuk
That's
done.
great.
Deebo Samuel done. First quarter. Perfect. All right. So 49ers immediately lose. Great.
Hollywood Brown, Rashee Rice, Isaiah Pacheco.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Rashee Rice is their wide receiver 1. Hollywood Brown was going to be their wide receiver 1.
Those guys being hurt heading into the week, those guys being hurt for weeks at a time is different than going into the game thinking you have 2 players and then they get hurt in the first quarter.
Okay.
Because then you're unprepared.
With those injuries, a wide receiver heading into the week, how about Juju Smith-Schuster playing 2 snaps and going out? That was their wide receiver 1 in the game. Does that matter to you, or are we done with facts?
No, it doesn't. Juju Smith-Schuster stinks.
Well, he's their wide receiver 1, and you're saying he stinks right now. So that is the Chiefs' wide receiver 1, and they're still 6-0. So you have a little explaining to do there, Ian.
I'm just saying the Chiefs every week, and it is kind of fun heading into a week. I'll admit it is fun looking at the Chiefs and just being like, how are they going to find a way to win this game? Because every week they find a new way, injuries or key penalties or turnover. Who do the Chiefs got next week? The Raiders. They probably don't need any luck in that one. They're probably good enough to beat the Raiders outright. Next time they play a good team, I don't know who it is. It'll be very fun to see how they manage to win that game.
My point is, I see Hunter. Juju isn't the same as Debo or Ayuk. I know. I get that. Their Debo and Ayuk heading into the season was Hollywood and Rashee Rice. They've yet to lose a game. Juju Smith-Schuster was their de facto wide receiver 1 heading into the Niners, and he was out after 2 plays. They still won and kicked the Niners' ass. They lose their CB2 in the game. They still kick the Niners' ass. Like, there's no excuses at this point. This is a well-rounded, great Chiefs defense. This Chiefs defense is elite. They are very efficient running the football. Don't use yards per carry. Look at EPA, yards added, the efficiency numbers of the running game. This is a 90s football team right now. They win with defense. They win running the football. They do the little things correct, and they'll outcoach you. That's what it comes down to.
Matthew says, Ian, maybe the Chiefs are just a good all-around football team. I've never said the Chiefs are not a good football team. The Chiefs are clearly a good football team, but good football teams also lose games, except for the Chiefs. But they are, to their credit, this season, the Chiefs have been covering the spread, which is something they haven't done in years past.
Hunter, Niners aren't going to win anything without CMC, Debo, and Ayuk. Okay, so what's that mean Brock Purdy is? Hunter? Ian? You guys want to take this one?
Brock Purdy will step up. I'm fine with that.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, I mean,
okay.
give him some time to learn how to throw to you can't just
Well, you don't throw to the defense, right?
Mid-game is kind of tough to adjust mid-game when you lose your top 2 weapons.
Well, you know what color jersey you're wearing, right? Like, you know what your team wears and not what the opposing team wears?
Yeah.
I thought Brock Purdy was a little confused by that.
There's more to it than that. There's game plans. There's chemistry. There's a little bit more to it than that.
Okay.
Well, then let me ask you this about the Kansas City Chiefs. And 10P Kid said earlier in sarcastic font, Mahomes MVP front runner. I don't think you can. I mean, I understand why he is the betting favorite, because you have to take into consideration other things like liability and who the bettors are betting on, and it's not just sports books who they think should be the MVP, but Patrick Mahomes is still the betting favorite to win MVP. Can you explain that? Yeah,
it makes no sense.
Right. So you don't at least because I have seen some people on Twitter say that just because the Chiefs are 6-0 and they're back-to-back champs, Patrick Mahomes is the rightful MVP favorite. He's not the MVP.
He has more interceptions than touchdowns.
Right.
Like, if you're telling me if you have to pick someone for the Chiefs, like if you and you don't have to, like I don't like that argument necessarily. I think it can be because the Chiefs are a really well-rounded team, but I would go Chris Jones. Like, I know it's a defensive player. I get that. There's defensive player of the year, all that stuff. But if you're saying who's been the most impactful player for KC this year, it's been Chris Jones. So if you're going to say who's the best player on the best team, I don't care if it's not a quarterback or even an offensive player. Go with Chris. I don't know who my MVP front runner would be in the NFL right now. I really don't.
We haven't really seen
a little early, I think, to do that. There's been so many injuries to great players. You're looking at a lot of these quarterbacks on good teams right now. I don't think anyone's really wowing you, right, as far as statistically speaking. Joe Burrow might have the best stats, but look at that team. You can't. Sorry, if you're the best quarterback, if you're the most valuable player, your team can't be 2-4. Can't happen. You got to at least go 500, pal. The MVP race right now, I think, is completely wide open, though.
Yeah, there is a chance after tonight there's going to be a clear front runner. Patrick Mahomes may get surpassed if Lamar Jackson has another big game tonight.
And that's fair.
But you know who I actually think has been the MVP so far this season, and he's still 18-1? Jaden Daniels.
I was going to say
Jaden Daniels. Which is crazy to say as a rookie, but Jaden Daniels has been the most valuable player in the NFL through the first 7 weeks. It's a shame.
We said last year, though, about CJ Stroud. right? I believe
Right.
you and I were on like he's got to be top 3 MVP voting, got to be
Yeah.
top 3. And then Jaden Daniels has the same boat as you until the injury last week. That's gonna bump him down because just missing the game, right? But
Yep.
I'm with you. I mean, look what the Commanders are this season.
Yep.
Now again, they didn't need Jaden against the Panthers. They had to put up a 40 spot with Marcus Mariota in the game, which is wild. But yeah, I think Jaden Daniels, if he can get healthy and get back out there soon, he definitely deserves to be in that conversation.
Yeah, and he leads the NFL in starting quarterbacks right now in EPA plus CPOE composite and adjusted EPA per play, and he leads those categories by like a pretty significant margin as well. So even if you're a numbers guy and you want to kind of break it down, the metrics show that he has been the most efficient quarterback so far this season as well. So yeah, CJ Stroud kind of ran into those injury issues last year. He missed 2 games late in the season, which kind of took him out, and that might be now what will happen to Jaden Daniels. Now, I think if Jaden Daniels doesn't miss any additional time, if he comes back this week against the Bears, I think he'll be fine because he still did start this past week. If he misses this week, he'll probably be out of the race. If he misses 2 weeks, he'll definitely be out of the race.
It's funny, though. It's going to actually hurt him that he played in that game because all the averages will go down.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? People do look at that. You playing a game and then throwing for 6 yards. Everyone knows you missed the entire game besides the first drive.
Yeah.
But people will look at that and say, well, why is his passing yards instead of 280? Why is it 262? Or just right. Hypothetically speaking. I do like 10P Kid says he leans Goff. Yeah, Jared Goff's been very good as well.
Yeah, there's kind of 4 right now. There's 4 quarterbacks who are kind of separated from the rest. It's Mahomes plus 370, Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen 5-1, Jared Goff plus 650, and then a little bit of a gap. Then CJ Stroud, then another gap, and then Jordan Love, Joe Burrow, Jaden Daniels, Kirk Cousins 55-1.
Don't throw money on Kirk.
Do you have any other thoughts about the Chiefs game before we can we can move on from this team? They're a good team. They're a good team. They're going to win the Super Bowl again. They're going to get hot in the playoffs. They're going to find some other player who's a free agent, sign him. He's going to be the best player on the whatever. We know the story. We've seen the story multiple years in a row. It's going to happen again this year. Anything else you'd like to add?
No, you nailed it. Yeah, they're going to three-peat. So
yeah, so perfect. Can't wait for that. That'll be exciting to watch the same team win again. All right, moving on. Could the Denver Broncos make the playoffs, Sterling? The Denver Broncos, quietly a little bit of a feisty team. There's no denying how good the Denver Broncos defense is. Top 5, arguably a top 3 defense in the NFL this season. Their offense is not great. Their offense probably even at times is not good, but their offense has been doing enough to at least get the job done. I like what Bo Nix does with his legs. He takes off with his legs when he needs to. Which, hey, if you have that good of a defense, you don't have to do a lot offensively. Right now, I mean, according to NFL.com, but I showed last week how the percentages don't make any sense. They're giving the Broncos a 52% chance to make the playoffs. Right now, they are the number 8 seed, so they'd be 1 spot out of the playoffs. Let me see if I can find some odds for the Denver Broncos to make the playoffs. But what do you think, Sterling? Broncos chance at all, or are they just kind of are they going to come back down to earth?
I mean, I think they have a chance, but I think 50% is way too high. Like, I personally think they don't make the playoffs.
Yeah.
This was the easier stretch of schedule. They still have the Panthers left. They have the Raiders left. They have a Chargers game left. But you play the Chiefs twice, right? If you look at their schedule, it gets a lot more difficult coming up. Bo Nix, better than I expected, but he's still missing a lot of open throws.
Yeah.
Like, if you watch this game, I think if you're a Broncos fan,
throws.
I mean, yeah, in between 2 open guys, you're like, dude, that's actually impressive, right? Like that. How are you missing these guys?
Yeah.
How do you land in between 2 guys who are both wide open? Incredible, phenomenal.
There was like 3 throws. I was like, oof. Like I audibly said, oof, afterwards because he just missed wide open guys who weren't even like far down the field, like 10 yards in front of him, missed him.
Yeah, the defense is great. The run game is inconsistent. Javonte Williams great in this one. Estime starting to get a little more run as well. Jaleel McLaughlin, he again, they have 3 solid running backs, but I don't think any of them are necessarily like needle movers, right? Mm-hmm. They're not great. They're not Breece Hall. They're solid. I think Sean Payton's a good head coach. I think at times people view him as a great or a like legendary head coach, which I have a little bit of issue with, but I think he is a good head coach. But I think this is a team that probably wins 7 games. They might win 8. They probably end up going 8-9, which is a great step in the right direction, but that's not going to be enough to make the playoffs.
It is kind of hindsight's 2020, but I have no idea how the Broncos are only 2.5-point favorites against that Saints team. The Saints had nobody in that game on offense. That was an ugly game.
Well, I think it came down to no one knows what Spencer Rattler was.
Right, but even if he was good, like they're missing Chris Olave and Rashid Shaheed, like he had nobody to throw to. He had guys I never even heard of.
The Rashid Shaheed one came out a little late too.
Yeah. So betting odds for the Broncos to make the playoffs, at least at this one sports book, plus 170, which is an implied probability of 37.04%, which I think makes a lot more sense than 52%.
Yeah.
10 kids. Remember when I said start Hayner? Would that have made a difference? He still had no weapons.
He looked better later in the game than Spencer did.
Yeah, but Spencer was shell-shocked by that point, though, of how many times he got hit. Yeah, because it wasn't even just like they had no weapons. They had no weapons going up against, a top 3 defense in the NFL. So that was a disaster of a situation for the Saints to go into, which tough. Truly, it warms my heart as a Falcons fan to watch that game. That was a fun one. I hit both my bets, and the Saints lost by a million and looked terrible.
Thank you, Will Lutz, by the way. And not the Saints Will Lutz. Now the Denver Broncos Will Lutz.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Moving on. Lions squeak by the Vikings. I still wish that this was the primetime game because the Jets-Steelers game kind of sucked, which we'll talk about. But Lions squeak by Vikings. I don't really know what the takeaway from that game is. I guess the takeaway is that the Vikings are a legitimately good team because they were down in that game and came back, which to do that against a team as good as the Lions is a sign of something. I think if the Vikings were a fraudulent team, I think they just roll over and die at that point. But they didn't. They came back. They didn't win in the end, but I mean, they had a lead, and then the Lions went down and kicked the game winner. So, what was your takeaway from that?
Yeah, it's a great point. They did not roll over. They did have a couple of big plays go their way, right? That strip tackle of David Montgomery that ended up in a defensive touchdown that really changed the tide. Yeah. But it happened. They made the play. Yep. It was a massive play that I don't think you can count on, but they still made that play. The Vikings showed me a lot. This was almost one of the games that we needed to see, win or lose. How do they play against the Lions? How do they play when they get down and they're forced to throw with Sam Darnold? Mm-hmm. The answer is they're a good team. They're a real good team. They're legit. Lions, tip your cap. They found a way. They almost blew that game. Jared Goff was really good yet again. Amon-Ra St. Brown is just so damn effective. It's incredible how he's always able to bring the ball down. He'll be getting drilled, and he's still able to come down with the football. His hands are incredible. Got to have better ball control, obviously. Can't have those turnovers. But, yeah, I think both teams, you're looking at maybe the 2 best teams right now in the NFC, which is we thought the Niners would be there. With their injuries, they're not. We thought the Eagles might be there. We can get to them in a second, but I think these might be the 2 best teams in the NFC right now.
Crazy. For what it's worth, the Vikings did okay in the Lions in yards per play, 7.4 to 7. Little bit misleading, though, because the Lions got out to a big lead, and then they just started running the ball. But they did run, still 7 yards per play against what was supposed to be, what is still probably arguably an elite Vikings defense, something to monitor moving forward. Because as good as the Vikings defense are, even though the Lions offense is good, they shouldn't be giving up 7 yards per play. Yeah. But might just have been a good game for the Lions. I want to talk about my Falcons because they got some real issues. I didn't know. Obviously didn't know. I had a very strong feeling all week the Falcons were going to win that or lose that game. Coming off some emotional victories early in the season, coming off a 3-0 sweep in the NFC South Gauntlet. Going up against the Seahawks team that was better than they looked the last handful of weeks. We got to get a pass rush. Wasted a 3rd-round pick on Matthew Judon, who looks like a complete bum out there. And we truly are, I think, pass rush or a really good defensive line away from being an actual contender, because our defense is a bend but don't break kind of defense, but you need to at least have some kind of pressure, because if you're a bend but don't break, but the other team's quarterback is getting 8 seconds to throw, they're going to find a window, especially when it's a quarterback as good and as consistent as Geno Smith. We can't just win shootouts every single game. There are going to be games our offense only scores 14 points. And if we continue, we're not going to win those games where the offense only scores 14 points. The only way we're going to keep winning games is it's going to have to be like 32-28, 28-24. We're not winning games where we only score 14 points. And it was just a bad game all around. Too many penalties is like 9 penalties for 77 yards or something, -3 turnover differential. Couldn't rush the passer. I tweeted, we may as well just drop 11 guys into coverage, because not only is the pass rush bad, it's non-existent. I want to see if I can find some pressure rate percentages here. We got to make a move. If the Falcons want to go on a deep run in the playoffs this season, we got to make a move, because I can't think of a single team in the NFL history that's made a deep playoff run with zero pass rush. Zero pass rush.
When does my apology get pinned from Falcons fans? Not you.
What? For what?
All the Falcons fans who were coming at me before the season started when I said this is a good team. Not a great team. Not this, oh man, you got to watch out for the Falcons.
No, that's...
When do I get my apology for saying Matthew Judon's not elite? And I was told basically that he's an elite pass rusher. Kick rocks. He's so good. He's going to change this Falcons defense.
No.
When do I get that apology pin for being a realist and knowing ball?
No, you're not getting an apology, Sterling, because that's not what you said. The issue that you said that got Falcons mad at you, so you said the Falcons have no great players. We have good players.
No, I said elite.
You said great. You said you have good players, not great players, which is even if it's elite, still not true. We have elite players. Jesse Bates, elite. Justin Simmons, elite.
And I said safeties. That's not a position that really moves the needle on a given season. Like, what's more important, an elite safety or an elite pass rusher? You riddle me that one, Ian.
Pass rusher would be more important for
100%.
Sure.
It's not even
safety's
close.
Not important. I guess Ed Reed doesn't matter. Safety doesn't matter.
No,
so Ed
but Jesse Bates ain't
career.
Ed Reed, guy. Like, that's fine. You can be a really and like, Jesse Bates is great, phenomenal. But just the positional value of safety is not the same as a edge rusher or even a cornerback. It just, you got to look at positional value. You have to invest in positions that matter. Bates is great. I'm not arguing that, but I'm saying you have to have a pass rush first. Okay,
well, now we have everything else. Get us a pass rusher before the trade deadline, and we're going to win the Super Bowl. Falcons have a pressure rate of 12.6%. Getting a pressure on the quarterback 12% of the time they drop back. That's not going to get it done. That's not last, though. Panthers are last, 11.5. 12.6% pressure rate's not going to get it done, unfortunately. It's so frustrating to watch, because anytime we play a team with a competent quarterback with good receivers like the Seahawks, they're going to torch us. The Falcons blitzed a ton yesterday. That didn't help. So I think this is just not our year. We're not going to. Our only chance, Sterling. Our only chance. I'm going to jump through the screen. Our only chance that we have to win this game, and the Falcons team does kind of remind me of the Bengals from a few years ago when they went on their Super Bowl run, although Kirk Cousins is not Joe Burrow. We just got to get hot at the right time. That's our only chance, because we're not good enough to win a Super Bowl. We are if we get hot at the right time and win a couple playoff games and get a couple favorable matchups. But the best I'm going to hope for now, my expectations have changed, because now I've seen this team 7 weeks now, is to make the playoffs. Win a playoff game, I'm happy. Make the playoffs at all, I'm good. And then we got to do something in the offseason to address the pass rush, because it's ugly out there. This is not our year. I'm ready to admit it's not our year. It's not our year.
All right. We're going to have a conversation about the Falcons. Okay. How'd that elite safety play work when you give up a 34 spot to the Seahawks? Huh? This elite Falcons team. Great players all around.
One player can cover the entire field. I mean, doesn't.
Yeah, baby.
You can't.
I was told Kirk, great.
He is great.
Yeah, he is great. 14 points. Nice. Love that. Getting blown out by 20 at home to the Seahawks. Yeah, this great Falcons team.
This is my personal hell.
Love you,
Yeah,
Iain.
we're all right. It's a bad game. Teams have bad games. The only difference is in other teams outside the Chiefs, when you have a bad game, you lose. The Chiefs have bad games, and they still find ways to win. So, it is what it is.
I will say I still need the Falcons to win 10 games because I ripped that over. I had the 9.5. I took the over. So, come on, Falcons, for me.
We'll be all right. Although 3-point underdogs against Tampa Bay this weekend, that's not going to be fun. We're going to lose that game. Are the Eagles back to being contenders? Are you impressed by the Eagles at all? The Giants kind of became a feisty team this season, but then the Eagles just completely clobbered them. 28-3. Oof. I don't like that final score. 28-3, the Eagles beat the Giants.
Yeah, and Saquon just ran all over the Giants. 176 yards. I don't know how I view the Giants yet, which is kind of how I'm going to view the Eagles. The Eagles are one of the most talent-rich teams in the NFL, right? I think if you look at strictly the players they have, insanely talented. I do think some of the perpetual turnover at on the coaching staff with the OC and the DC, what's that, 3 new ones in 3 straight years? I think it's tough. Like, I don't know if there's enough credence being given to that. I think Nick Sirianni is a bad head coach. Like, I really think Sirianni is one of the worst head coaches in football, which is a bummer because that Eagles team is very talented. When the Eagles finally say, see ya, to Sirianni, they'll be much better off for it. But I still think they're one of the most talented teams in the NFL. I don't know how much I learned, though, playing the Giants. Like, the Giants are right. They have been feisty at times this season. But like Philip in the chat says, Giants are the NFC Patriots. Yeah, at times the Patriots have been feisty this year, too. Doesn't mean they're good. That roster is devoid of talent. We saw Drew Lock at the very end of the game come in. Malik Neighbors is great. Wan'Dale Robinson is getting like 8 receptions a game for 20 yards. Like, I think if you're the Giants, you try and sell. You just got to redo this thing. Daniel Jones is not your guy. That much you figured out. This was a is he or is he not your guy season for the Giants and Daniel Jones. He's not their guy. So now you know. And if you're the Eagles, against better quarterbacks, that secondary play still needs to improve. Probably better than last year. Obviously, the draft capital you put in there is great to see. But that defense is too talented to be so consistently inconsistent.
Yeah, that didn't really tell me a lot about the Eagles, to be honest, because it turns out missing your best offensive tackle, Andrew Thomas, is completely detrimental to the Giants. I mean, Daniel Jones got sacked 8 times.
Yeah.
So, I mean, hey, the Eagles are able to take advantage of that. So, I mean, that says something about the Eagles' pass rush. They're still, 8 sacks, not nothing, even going up against a backup offensive line. Other than that, I mean, Jalen Hurts only threw the ball 14 times. They ran the ball 45 times in this game for 269 yards. So that's obviously not a game plan you can use against most teams in the NFL. But hey, a sign of a good team is winning games handedly that you should win handedly, and they won this game handedly. So I don't think this now makes me want to put stock, like invest in the Eagles, but I'm not ready to sell on the Eagles yet, if that makes sense. Where a bad performance, if this game was close, I would be like, sell all your Eagle stock. It's over.
Sure.
They got the job done. And the Eagles next week play the Bengals. That'll be an interesting one next week. Deshaun Watson out for the year. Achilles, is it?
Yeah. Achilles.
Do you have any thoughts on that whole situation, Sterling?
Go to Jameis.
Yeah.
Go to Jameis.
Why wasn't Jameis the backup in that game? Why was
this was the first week?
Robinson?
First week that they said they had Dorian Thompson Robinson as the backup. They elevated him as the backup, and
right.
Jameis was the emergency. I don't know why for this 1 week. I know it's because DTR is younger, right? So maybe they're thinking for the future. But we've seen DTR play in how many games now?
Enough.
I mean, and maybe I'm being too quick to judge, right? He was a 5th rounder. He's going to need some time to develop all that stuff. But when you see him come in the game, there's never once like, oh, yeah, you can see flashes. You can see glimpses. I haven't seen it personally, and maybe because I just think Jameis Winston's so fun to watch. So Browns fans, I could be completely in the wrong here, and maybe you guys all want DTR. But as a observer, a enjoyer of watching just football in general, the NFL is more enjoyable when you have Jameis Winston on the field. It just is. I want to see Jameis take over the Browns. Obviously, no Amari Cooper anymore. Going to be harder. I thought the boos, as Jameis Winston touched on in his post-game speech, maybe a little over the top. I don't know if Browns fans realized how bad the injury was, right? Obviously, Watson has some a reputation. Don't need to get into all that stuff right here.
Well, I'll get into it. 24 women accused him of sexual assault, Sterling.
Yeah.
Now, listen, booing when a guy gets that serious of an injury, a torn Achilles, I mean, it's tough to ever boo an injury, but I mean, I'm not going to get mad at Browns fans for that. I'm not. I know Jameis Winston and Myles Garrett coming out and saying Deshaun Watson has been a model citizen is insane. I get wild. That you can't come out and be like, yeah, we should be booing him. 24 women accused him of sexual assault, but to call him a model citizen is he trolling us? Deshaun Watson might be the worst human being to play in the NFL, especially the worst human being to get that big of a contract. I'll say it. He's a real piece of crap, Sterling. So I'm not going to get mad at Browns fans for booing.
That's fair.
If there's ever a time to boo a guy when he gets hurt, ever, 99.9% of cases, I would be against it. If I were to ever let one pass, it'd be a guy who got accused from 24 different women of sexual assault, Sterling.
This was the exception that proves the rule, basically.
Yeah, if there's an exception to that.
Exception to the rule that you never boo, but there's always an exception to the rule. This would be the exception to the... Okay.
Correct.
Fair.
I hope we don't see Deshaun Watson on a football field anymore.
Yeah,
as bad as he is, he
allegedly
might be,
a really bad dude.
He might still be a better football player than a human being. That's how bad he is. Of both a football player and a human being. I'm done with him. Bring in Jameis. Jameis is fun. Yeah, and I know Jameis had the comments after the game. I mean, you can't really come out and crap.
Yeah, what are you gonna say?
It cause issues in the locker room. So
his comments, by the way, were 90% great.
Yeah. So there you go. Had to bring that up. Obviously, that was a big storyline yesterday. Sterling, before we get into Monday Night Football preview, I do want to ask you a question about some 2-win teams. I'm going to list off the teams who currently have 2 wins. I want you to tell me if you had to pick one to make the playoffs today, which of these teams would it be? The Miami Dolphins, and I want to get their exact records here. Miami Dolphins, who are 2-4, the Raiders, who are 2-5, the Jets, who are 2-5, the Jaguars, who are 2-5, the Cardinals, who are 2-4, play tonight. The Rams, who are 2-4, or the Saints, who are 2-5. Which of those 2-win teams? Obviously, any of them to make the playoffs would be a stretch. But if you had to pick one of them to make the playoffs, who would it be?
It's a really good call. I'm between two teams.
In the chat. Ruben in the chat, I see you. Hello.
Hey, Ruben. I'm between two teams. The Dolphins, because Tua is practicing, right? Isn't he saying looking for a Week 8 comeback? I believe was that the is that next week? Yes, next week.
Yeah,
I believe that was what I saw. I apologize, I didn't confirm that before this. Tua is going back to the Dolphins. Obviously, makes them a playoff team, but can they dig themselves out of the hole? And the other one's surprising. I'm going to go with the Cardinals because that division's been very inconsistent. I think the Cardinals are a better team than the Rams. They already have one victory over the Rams, correct, this year? They have the tiebreaker?
Yes. Yeah.
So they have that basically the half-game lead on the Rams then. I think the Cardinals would be the sneaky pick, right? If you're looking for odds or if you're looking for the best juice with a realistic possibility, like the Jags or the Raiders, come on now. Giants, come on now. Cardinals have a chance with all the injuries that the 49ers have suffered. If you think the Seahawks are just a slightly above average team. Maybe it's 9-8. Maybe it's 10-7. Can the Cardinals get there? We'll see. Probably not, but I think it's not the worst bet in the world. Their offense is fun to watch.
Yeah, I do like the Cardinals as a bit of a dark horse shot, 3-1 odds for them to make the playoffs. The issue with the Cardinals, or picking with any team in the NFC, is the NFC wildcard race is so tight. I mean, the Eagles are 4-2 outside the playoffs right now. Falcons 4-3 outside the playoffs right now. So the NFC has two teams with winning records who are not even in the playoffs right now. So wildcard spots are going to be, tough.
You have to win the division.
AFC wildcard race is going to be a little bit more open because right now in the AFC wildcard race, you got teams like the Chargers and Colts and Broncos.
Yeah, you got to win your division. I mean, that's just in the NFC. You have to win your division. Like if you're the Saints, if you're the Cardinals, you got to win.
Which, to be fair, the Cardinals, I mean, if they win tonight, they have the same record as the 49ers. It's crazy.
That's my point, baby.
Cardinals could technically, they could win the NFC West. That's certainly not outside the realm of possibility. The Jets, I think, are probably this team. That's the obvious answer, and I think it's probably the right answer still. I mean, betting odds would say it's the Jets still have the best chance.
Well, I see you didn't put the Jets in here.
Did I not put in the Jets?
No.
Oh, I think I made the outline before Sunday Night Football last night, and I think I just assumed the Jets were going to win. That's what happened.
Hey, Russ looked good, by the way.
Yeah.
Russell Wilson...
What? Yeah, right. We didn't talk about Sunday Night Football. Yeah, let's talk about Russell Wilson. Looked good.
Like the first.
Although, I mean, there was he threw up some moon balls that George Pickens came down with in pretty spectacular fashion. Another one that someone else someone else made like a really nice catch on a moon ball too. So yeah, he looked good. Not good enough where I'm convinced Russell Wilson's going to continue to look that good.
No. But first quarter was horrible. I'm like, I'm so glad I didn't tweet it out. I'm like, okay, I've seen enough. Go back to Justin Fields. Like I almost did. But George Pickens is so good at those 50-50 balls.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you throw those moon balls to him? 80% of the time, he's coming down with it. Right? Like how often is that getting intercepted? I think rarely. Like he's either coming down with it or no one is.
Yeah.
And that's the whole thing. That's what they kept talking about, which I'm glad that, like, if Justin Fields could have that sort of deep ball touch, if he could throw some balls with loft, well, Justin Fields is a much better quarterback for that offense because he can run. He can do a lot of the other things, right?
Mm-hmm.
But he can't throw those touch balls to Russ. Those catches were insane. I'm not disagreeing, y'all. But, like, that's what they were wanting the offense to do, was throw more balls up one-on-one. That's going to help elevate and expand the Steelers' offense, not horizontally, but vertically. I left impressed with Russell Wilson in that game. I left impressed with some of the play calls by Arthur Smith. And I left thinking, I don't know if they're a better team with Russell Wilson at quarterback, but they're a much different team with Russell Wilson at quarterback.
Steelers head coach Mike Tomlin on if switching to Russell Wilson with a 4-2 record was one of his boldest decisions. He responded, quote, "That's why I'm well compensated. Thank you," end quote. Mike Tomlin, I mean, it was kind of a win-win because if Russell Wilson stunk last night, he can go back to Fields.
Yeah.
And if Russell Wilson played well, which he did, he looks like a genius. But I mean, there's no team that I've lost more money betting against than the Pittsburgh Steelers. Because and still, even after last night, I'm still convinced they're not a good football team. But now they're 5-2, and they find ways to win. Timely turnovers. No team gets more timely turnovers than the Pittsburgh Steelers.
They're just well coached, man.
Special teams, field goal block last night. Like,
should have had two. They called one back that Minkah Fitzpatrick blocked an extra point, and they called it as a leverage. There was no leverage. I was special teams, everything. If you watch K-State football here, like if you're local in Kansas City and you watch K-State football, the Steelers are almost like that. Avery Johnson's more of an elevator at quarterback. I get all that stuff. But as far as like, they don't make mistakes. The other team's the one perpetually making the mistakes. The timely turnovers, just being extremely well coached, doing the little things correct. Special teams. Like, that's what the Steelers do. Are they the most talented team? No, not at all. But they're not going to beat themselves. You have to beat them while also not turning the ball over, because if you turn the ball over, they're just going to eat the clock.
Let's wrap up here with Monday Night Football preview. We got a doubleheader. Is this the last Monday Night Football doubleheader of the season? I think
Could be.
I know Monday Night Football doubleheaders mean a late night for me because I got to make all my picks after the games. And this is usually we have one early start and then one normal time start. Now we have the Ravens Buccaneers at the normal time, and then we have a late start, 9 p.m. Eastern. I'm going to be up at 3 a.m. tonight. Oh boy.
Brutal.
Let's start with the Ravens and Bucks. Ravens, actually a very intriguing game. Ravens 3.5-point favorites at Tampa Bay. As a Falcons fan, I really need the Ravens to come through tonight. Any thoughts on this one, Sterling?
Yeah, this should be fun. Again, I always go to anytime I watch the Buccaneers play, every single time, it comes down to which Baker Mayfield are we going to get? Like, what? Yep. 3 out of 4 games, he's great. He's awesome. It's incredible to watch. So fun. And like 1 out of every 4, you're like, okay, now I see why teams have moved on from him, right? It's the inconsistency factor at times with Baker. He's been better. And yeah, as Ruben says, Ravens defense is suspect with all the losses they've had from last year to this year. I'll go Ravens in this one, but this should be a really fun game to watch, and I expect it to be high scoring.
Ravens' run defense is elite. Their secondary is where the issue is, which is going to hurt them because Tampa Bay doesn't really run the ball and they don't do it effectively. Tampa Bay is an air attack offense. So if there's a team that can really attack the Ravens defense, it's probably this Buccaneers offense. Ravens, just for context, they allow 7.5 yards per pass attempt. That's 26th in the NFL. They're also 27th in opponent dropback EPA and 23rd in opponent dropback success rate. So this is defensively pretty much a nightmare matchup for this Baltimore defense. Now, the Ravens offense is so good, they could just, win in a shootout. So I do expect a little bit of a high scoring game. With you being able to get the hook of 3.5, I'm going to take the points with the Buccaneers because I think it's going to be a close game regardless. 10P kids giving out a pick over 9.5 first quarter, lock of the century. Ooh, I first quarter bets always scare me just because the first quarter seems to always go by so quick. You get like 2, maybe 3 drives, so like you need basically points scored in every single drive. But I like it. I'll hop on that with you. I think it's going to be a high scoring, close game. I think it's going to be kind of a last possession kind of. Whoever gets the ball last wins.
That's what I hope it is too.
Dream scenario for me would be Ravens win, Bucks cover would be a dream scenario for me. So that's what I'll be rooting for.
Love it.
And then the other one's kind of a fun one too. Arizona Cardinals, which you mentioned earlier, Sterling, fun offense team that could be a dark horse and make a little bit of a playoff run here. Going up against the LA Chargers, who are currently in a playoff spot. Chargers sitting at 3-2, obviously already having their bye week. Kind of 2 completely different teams actually so far this season.
Yeah, that was what I was going to say. These are 2 complete opposites. Cardinals, fun offensively, trying to be explosive. Defensively, they struggle. Chargers are, even with Justin Herbert, a run-first team. They're kind of like the Steelers at this point now. Good defense, take care of the football, take what's given, don't make mistakes. I don't know who to go with in this game. Like, which style is going to win? If the Chargers get behind, it's going to be hard for them to come back, especially with the amount of injuries they have at wide receiver. Ladd McConkey, questionable. Quentin Johnston, doubtful. They had one more wide receiver who I believe was questionable as well.
I think Quentin Johnston is just out now.
Out now? Okay. Yeah, if the Cardinals get up early, I like them. But if they get down and they're forced to throw, the Chargers defense can rain hell on Kyler Murray and that offensive line. So that first quarter, I think, is going to tell us a lot.
Yeah, in case anyone's curious, Cardinals are a 1-point favorite in that game. Chargers are a 1-point favorite in that game. They were 2.5-point favorites. I bet on them when they were 2.5-point favorites, so I got a bad line. But coin flip game. Ruben, you said a 50-50 game. I'm going to back the team with a better defense. I'm going to take the Chargers.
It's a good call.
I think if the receivers were healthy for the Chargers, I think that's probably why the line has moved. Justin Herbert can take advantage of this Cardinals. We have not seen a signature Justin Herbert game this season. I think we're kind of due for one. But his receivers are hurt, which is going to hurt him. All right, that's the show. Subscribe to Stacking the Box on YouTube. If you're listening to the audio version of this, we're going to throw in an interview I am about to have with Vernon Davis. Right after we're done this show, I'm going to talk to Vernon Davis. So if you're listening to the audio version of this, that'll be done by then. We're going to throw in the audio version of that interview at the end of the show. If you're watching this on YouTube, if you're watching this live, I haven't done the Vernon Davis interview yet. If you're watching this video either tonight or maybe tomorrow, just check out our YouTube channel there after you subscribe, and the Vernon Davis interview should be up by then. Much love. God bless Ruben. I'm not going to say the last part, the Chiefs for life.
You just said it, guy.
I hate the Chiefs. I know I did just kind of say it. I hate the Chiefs. I'm a Chiefs hater. 10P Kid, super nice dude. Met him years ago at Arnold Classic in Columbus. Yeah, Vernon Davis. I'm excited to talk to him. Did you know, Sterling, Vernon Davis, and I'm going to ask him about this if I have time, big curling fan.
Good for him. That's badass.
As a Canadian, I love it. So yeah, I'll be talking to him shortly. All right, thank you all so much for watching. Subscribe to Stack in the Box on YouTube. Rate and review the podcast. We'll be back Wednesday, 5 p.m. Eastern to preview NFL Week 8. Talk to you then.